Okay, so before we dive into this episode, I want to make a little announcement because we're doing something a little differently this time around. This conversation with Colin was so powerful and so moving. And at the end of it, we were both joking that we didn't want the conversation to end. So that got us talking and thinking, and we came up with a little idea. We want to do a part two conversation, but as we talked about how we'd want to do this, we knew we wanted to make it about you. So here's the deal, we are opening it up to you to ask us questions. Any question that you might have for Colin, myself, or the both of us. Anything from a specific question about one of our losses to how we've coped or anything in between, we want to hear from you. So, whether you have a question even before you listen or especially after you tune into this episode, you can DM either of us on Instagram. Both of those links are in the show notes, or email hello@lossesbecomegains.com to submit your question for our part two conversation. I am so excited to offer this and share this experience with you. I hope you submit a question and I hope you enjoy this conversation because I certainly did. Welcome to the Life with Grief podcast. I'm your host, grief and soul purpose coach, and fellow griever, Tara Accardo. Colin, welcome to Life with Grief. I am so grateful to you for being here today. And as I was kind of alluding to right before we hopped on and officially started recording, just speaking so openly about, I don't want to give your story away, but just two incredibly devastating losses that you have endured. And your openness is actually how I found you on social media. And I was just so moved by your vulnerability and the work that you're doing now. And you're just calling such needed attention to grief. And in the way that you do that, I love that. I love what you're about and how you are communicating and sharing, like living alongside of grief and not just trying to push past it. And I just saw a lot of myself in you because I think we have a similar goal and just making other people feel less alone. Like that's really the point, right? And I know you're going to do exactly that today in this conversation. So truly, just welcome and thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. I was so excited when you reached out because I started to see more of what you do and how you do it, and really appreciate the space that you're giving for so many people and how it's resonating already with so many people. I just really am glad to be here.
Yeah. Oh, I'm so happy you're a part of it. That being said, we just dig right in on this podcast.
Yeah.
We just get to the root of it. And the losses that you have been through, unfortunately, are ones that I know my listeners can empathize with. They have gone through themselves. But I always say, like, even if somebody hasn't lost the same people, like on paper, right? I have not lost the people that you have, but there is such a through line in grief and what we can all feel when we have lost someone that we love that this is where we can see each other on like a more soul to soul level, and I think it's so beautiful. So I will hand it off to you to share as much as you are comfortable sharing about your journey with loss and grief.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'll start at the end. And I lost my wife and my son on two separate days. So my wife, Camry, she had stage 4 colon cancer and was also pregnant. And the day that she gave birth to our son, Chance, was the day that she had passed away, which was July 3rd. And then 9 days later, Chance also passed away, and primarily just due to medical complications from being a premature baby. So that's where it all ended. And how we got there, Cam was diagnosed with cancer in May of 2024. And at the time, we were just dating. And when we found that diagnosis out, we were under the impression that it was stage 1 colon
Mm.
cancer. And months later, ended up finding out that it was stage 3.
God.
And so We started on the medical journey through her, number one, just feeling off.
Mhm.
She was always having some sort of digestive issues, or just sporadic bowel movements, and different foods were just not sitting well for her, and
Mhm.
she was experiencing some blood in her stool as well. And she had been experiencing that for quite some time. I, in some capacity, she was experiencing some of the symptoms for almost 5 years, but it
Wow.
had gone undiagnosed that whole time.
Okay.
And she had previously gotten a colonoscopy way back when, and they
Okay.
didn't find anything at the time. And then this is just kind of an unfortunate nature of a lot of our systems, but she went to grad school to go get her master's, and she was in law school, and she graduated from law school. But during that time, like many students, you don't have insurance. And so she was experiencing a lot of these issues, but was pushing it off because she didn't have insurance.
I hate that.
Yeah. And so once she graduated, got a job, got insurance, that's when she started going to the doctor. And within maybe two, maybe three visits with her doctor, she was recommended to get a colonoscopy.
Okay.
And then from there, that day in and of itself, we didn't really know what we were going to be getting into. We were, of course, scared, and honestly, cancer wasn't even necessarily at the forefront of what we
Yeah.
were considering. And once she was done with her colonoscopy, they had informed both of us that she had a mass in her colon. They didn't jump to anything to say what it was, but they took a sample
Hmm.
to get it tested. And I remember that day so vividly. I remember being in a state of shock and not knowing what to do.
Yeah.
But all I knew was that I need to be the rock right now. I need to be a person that she can count on. And I remember like fighting back tears and just a panic attack in general. And when we were at the hospital, because they were wheeling her out, and then the nurse had told me, go grab your car, pull it around. And so I just kept repeating in my mind, let's just get home. Let's just get home. Let's just get home. Because it was, I don't know, like a 20-minute drive. It's like
Yeah.
I can't be having a meltdown behind the wheel.
Right.
And I I pick her up from the hospital, and we're driving home just in complete silence. And I have every scenario running through my head. And at this point, we didn't even know if it was cancer yet, but
Yeah.
I was just imagining, okay, this could be nothing, and it can just be sliced out and we're good. This
Yeah.
could be cancer and she dies. And that was the first time that I had ever even thought about her actually dying in a more literal and short term sense. I had never even thought about it before. And we got home to her place, and that's when I fell apart. I just started sobbing immediately. And she was in a place where she was absorbing it herself and was not really able to absorb what I was experiencing,
Hmm.
very understandably.
Yeah.
And so she said, just go for a walk. And I started walking and listening to music and was at this park that was near her house. I started walking, and I'm I'm someone who has a good amount of anxiety, I would say, and I plan out scenarios in my head all the time. Good scenarios, bad scenarios. I'm just pondering a lot.
Yeah.
And when I was at the park, I almost had this whole journey of acceptance.
Mm.
And that's not to say that I didn't go through the stages of grief at different points throughout the journey again. But at that point, I accepted, okay, we are about to potentially be on a journey of her having cancer, and she could die, and her life could end in the physical realm sooner than we expected. And so, as hard as that was, allowing myself to feel that and experience that in the moment when I found out gave me the ability to then be more present with
Mhm.
myself and with her, because I think that if I were to have been in denial, I don't know where I would be right now or how I would be managing. But
Yeah.
that journey started for me in May of 2024. And from then on, she got the diagnosis. That was a hard day. But the day of the colonoscopy was even harder just because it opened up the possibility of death.
Yeah.
And you don't fully realize how much you take someone's life for granted. And I know that's such a cliche, but it's
God,
so
yes.
true. Like
Oh, it's so
you
true.
you you don't even think about the frailty of that person's life.
Hmm.
And so being confronted with that frailty and it even becoming an option was much more painful than actually when the news itself came,
Yep.
because then it just validated what path we were already anticipating we would be on.
Yes.
And then from there, she she was given the option to start chemo, but she, just so you can learn more about Camry and the listeners can learn more about Camry, she was
Please. Yeah.
a very, very ambitious, fiery, independent person.
Clearly,
And
to go to law school. I mean,
yeah,
hi,
yeah,
can we just acknowledge that? But a
right,
badass.
law school and yoga teacher and just activist advocate. That was all her and
She's so
her embodiment.
dynamic. I
She
love
really
that.
is. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so when she got the option of doing chemo,
Hmm.
she was like, no, I'm not going to do that. And as her partner, that was really scary to hear,
Hmm.
because selfishly, you want your person to be able to live as long as possible. And so when she said that she didn't want to do chemo, I was just trying to wrap my head around it. I was like, what do you mean you don't want to do chemo?
What reason could you possibly have for not? Okay. Like,
And
yeah.
she said, and believed this deeply in her soul, that she wanted to take a path that was more holistic.
Hmm.
And so there was an emphasis on her diet and her lifestyle overall
Hmm.
that she was wanting to lean into in order to heal herself. And it's certainly a risk that she took, but it's one that she, I know to her bones, was willing to risk her life to see if it would work.
She believed it.
And
Yeah.
yeah, and she also felt that if this works for me, it could work for other people. And so for her, she had accepted that she might die. And for her, that risk was worth trying that route. And in part because if she were to do chemo, the cancer had progressed to stage 4 and was
Mm.
terminal. And so the percent of curability was in the single digits.
Yeah.
And at that point, she felt that she would rather try this route versus living for maybe another year.
Yeah. And in pain and in the throes of chemo, which
Yeah.
witnessed it with both of my parents, and it's not pretty.
Yeah.
It's painful.
It,
There's a lot that comes with that too. So
yeah.
that's
Yeah.
fair.
And there's distrust that she had towards the
Mm.
medical system. And it's not to say that she didn't trust doctors on a general level, but I
Mhm.
think something like chemo, the doctors are saying one thing, but
Yeah.
then she's seeing other folks with chemo or have gone through chemo and what their experiences were. And
Yep.
it was two very different things of what was being described.
Sure.
And even to what you were saying just now with your family, it just strains you. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, she chose not to. And then that put us in a position where we were really prioritizing wanting to live life as much as possible. And I would say that that really started when she got the diagnosis in and of itself,
Mhm.
but was just perpetuated even more once we found out that it was stage 4.
Yeah.
And something that she had gathered from one of her spiritual leaders was to operate out of a place of love and not out of a place of fear.
Mhm.
And so that was the mindset that she wanted to embody as much as possible with the time she had left. And so her and I, we had plans, or I should say, we had desires to get married.
Mhm.
And then we had totally opposite reactions with the news that we got, at least initially.
Yeah.
In my mind, I was like, let's wait until you're healed. Let's wait until you're okay. Let's get past this, because I think that was an aspect of things where I was in denial. And I was thinking, yeah, we're going to be at a point where she's clear and good, and this cancer is just something from the past.
Mhm.
And so I was of the mindset, let's wait and let's get married once you're good, because I'm worried about the stress that a wedding and all that stuff is going to have on you.
Yeah.
And she had the total opposite reaction, was like, I need to marry you tomorrow. Like,
Aw.
this is my bucket list thing. Like, we need to do
Oh.
this. And so that's the mindset that we had at the get. And then
Mhm.
once it was stage 4, that's when I was hit with another wave of acceptance of what was happening. And I was like, shit,
Yeah.
I we need to seize the moment here. And so we got engaged, and then quickly after that, very unexpectedly, we got pregnant. And that was a total shock to both of us.
Mhm.
And it was my own ignorance, but I honestly thought that wouldn't really be a possibility with her having stage 4 cancer.
Yeah.
But then that put us down this whole other route of, okay, we're talking to oncologists and palliative care, but then now we're going to high risk OB. And she has a whole team of doctors around her that are supporting her through both things. And we had a lot of conversation about, do we pursue this pregnancy or not. And
Yeah.
ultimately, we both felt like we would regret not trying. And we understood the risks that came with that. And I think I had to contend with it in a different way than she did, of course.
Yeah.
And I had to have another moment of acceptance with myself. It's much like I did when I first got the news of her having a mass. I had to think of every scenario
Yeah.
and think to myself, okay, there's there's an outcome where they both live. There's an outcome where
So
one of them
heavy.
dies, both of them die. I don't know what's going to happen, but I am accepting whatever path comes.
Mm-hmm.
And so her pregnancy was really tough. She was experiencing a lot of pain just beyond a pregnancy. Her liver mass had grown exponentially during the pregnancy and was causing her unfathomable pain, like screaming at the top of her lungs pain every day. And it happened so quickly. She was walking an hour a day every day. And then there was a surgery that she had that really just knocked her off her axis, really.
Mm-hmm.
And that just pretty much made her bedridden from that point. And the baby continued to grow. And at the same time, just in the spirit of us trying to live as much as possible, we had bought a house, and that house needed some renovating. And so there was a season there where I was working full time and then working on the house and then taking care of Camry where I could. And it was exhausting. I was feeling a panic of trying to fulfill her dreams of this home before she passed. And at this point, I think I was in a certain level of denial, just in
Yeah.
that it's not even that I didn't think she would pass. I think it was more so how much time I expected us to have.
Yeah.
And so I was working on the house a lot, almost out of a place of panic of like, I need to
Mm.
get this place done because we're going to have a kid here soon.
Yeah.
And I want her to be able to enjoy this place and rest here. And so she only got to see the place once. And she was hospitalized at the end of June just from the sheer amount of pain that she was experiencing. They did a ton of tests, which validated that her liver had grown, or the mass in her liver had grown to a point that was untenable. They said that she was too weak to receive chemo at that point, even if she wanted to.
Yeah.
And so at that point, it felt like we ran out of any sort of runway
Yeah.
and that we had approached or were approaching the end. And I got a call from her palliative care, and they gave me a timeline, and they said she's got about a week. And our son was not
Yeah.
born. He
How,
was
yeah, how far along was she at this point?
she was almost 23 weeks at this
Okay.
point, which
Okay.
is the first week of viability. So we were having lots of conversations with doctors on what are we going to do? What do you want to do? Depending on the health of the baby and if slash when Camry passes during the pregnancy, or if it's long enough in the pregnancy or far enough in the pregnancy, we could do a C-section. And at this point, Cam was on a lot of meds and was not able to advocate for herself. And so I was the one. I had to make a lot of decisions on my own of what we would do. And we we got to the point where, when I say we, doctors and I got to the point where we had concluded what we would do in all these different scenarios we talked about. And in every scenario we talked about, none of them included Chance and Camry being Earthside at the same time. And the next day comes, and it's 23 weeks to the day. And Camry goes to the bathroom in the morning. She calls me over and she tells me that her water broke at 23 weeks. And the day before, I had sat with doctors for almost 2 hours going through scenarios. Her water breaking was not
one of those.
one of those. And so I was really struggling with what to do. We hadn't talked about it. It was like, this was really early for a baby. It was so risky.
Yeah.
And not only just from a survivability standpoint, but also from a long-term issues standpoint.
Mm-hmm.
So I talked to Camry's spiritual leader that I had mentioned before,
Mm-hmm.
and she reminded me of what she had been teaching Camry over all that time, is to operate out of a place of love and not out of a place of fear.
Mm-hmm.
And it hit me like a train. Just, okay, this is Camry and I's last thing, where we are living life. We're choosing life. This is that last challenge, if you will, that in some ways it felt like Camry had put in front of me to be like, okay, what are you going to do?
Oh my God. As if you have not had enough of these big
Yeah.
life decisions. I'm like, Colin, I'm like, I don't know. I don't know how
Yeah.
you're surviving. Okay. Yep.
Yeah. So I get back to the floor where she was, and the doctors are like, all right, what do you want to do? And I said, let's try. And they're like, okay. And then there's 20 staff that run into the room, and I tell Camry, like, all right, we're going to try. And that fiery, ambitious person that I was talking about before came back.
Yeah.
She was
She's
there.
like, let's fucking go.
She's like bossing the room around. She's like telling people not to look at her. Like,
I love her.
yeah,
Oh my
yeah,
God.
she's amazing. And Chance was born in less than an hour, and it was a natural birth. And
Get out of here. I can't
it
even.
happened. Yeah, it's insane. And it happened so quickly, partially just because of his size. He was only 1 pound.
Oh,
And so they get him in intubation right away, get him tubed up. And I'm just a mess throughout all of it.
rightfully so.
And the moment that I just, like, it lives with me forever, is that they got to meet. And she didn't get to hold him, but she did get to touch him and see him. And that is a moment that lives with me forever. And he was sent off to the NICU. And then from that point on, she was really struggling, and her heart rate had dropped a lot. And so they had to intervene to make sure that she was still at a solid heart rate. And then her clarity was starting to go a lot more. And then I was feeling a bit frustrated that day because she gave birth and it was on an OB unit. And then the doctors on that unit are like, all right, are we ready to send her over to the hospice unit? And I'm like, what do you mean? And
What?
it totally different hospital and all of that. And I'm like, she just gave birth. Our son is upstairs. And you're telling me that you want to get her in an ambulance and move her to a completely different hospital just for her to die there.
That's baffling to me.
Yeah. And I was like,
Oh my
no,
God.
no, we're not
Yeah.
doing that.
Yeah.
And then I was also feeling frustrated just because I was not getting a lot of clarity on opinions or what felt like actual opinions from medical staff, where looking at her and seeing how she was acting, it seemed like she could die any minute. And
Yeah.
she was starting to have a bit of the rattles, some people call
Mm.
it, where it's just her breaths are just so exasperated. And a lot of that day, it seemed like she was taking her last breath.
That's so scary.
And I'm asking staff, I'm like, this doesn't seem okay. This seems weird. What's going on? And they were just like, well, women get tired after giving birth. And I'm like, this is not
And
the
we,
same. What do you mean?
oh my God.
And
Ugh.
then finally, later in the day, her palliative care doctor comes to visit her, who had been on the journey with us for months and months and had been her main advocate.
Mm.
She looked at Camry, looked at me, and was like, Colin, she's got hours. Say your goodbyes and remember that grief is the ultimate form of love. And so I start sobbing and just fall into her, and she's somewhat coherent at this point, and I think was able to hear what was said. And I'm sobbing, and she's just telling me, just breathe, just breathe,
She's
just
telling
breathe.
you to just breathe.
hmm She,
Oh, I'm gonna start crying.
yeah, her yoga practice was all about breath. It
That's
was,
very important.
yeah, it
I've learned
was
that too. Yeah.
what she embodied in her own practice and her teaching with me. It's all about the breath.
It's what you come back to. Yeah.
Yeah. And then from there, that's when family started to flood in and everyone was saying their goodbyes. And I was able to just hold her for a while and hold her hand when she passed. And after she had passed, I just stared at her for a while. And in part, it was because I had experienced my grandpa dying years ago,
Hmm.
and I was there in the hospital when he had died. And there's just something about seeing the dead body that
Hmm.
gives you an acceptance
Yeah.
of what happened. And so I stared at her because as painful as it was, I was like, I don't, for my own grief, my own
Yeah.
acceptance, I don't want to forget this.
Hmm.
And I took her wedding ring off and I put it around this necklace and still wear it every day.
It's amazing.
And I'm experiencing the weight of this loss. I'm experiencing it alongside her family. And the medical staff comes in. They're like, all right, pack it up.
You gotta go upstairs. Oh my god. You're not done yet. Oh
I,
my god.
so
You're like, "I need a nap." To
yeah,
put it mildly.
yeah.
God.
So from there, I'm thrown into having to figure out funeral arrangements and all those things. And her and I had not had those conversations. I think in part just because she was so focused on wanting to heal that she didn't
Yeah.
even want her mind to focus on those other
Yeah, the
aspects of
yep.
things. And I get it too. I understand why she didn't want to talk about that.
I think
And
it's very common. Yeah.
yeah. And while admittedly there was some frustration with that because it's like I'm deciding all this stuff on my own.
And you're like, "I wanna honor you. I want to do what
Right.
you want done with." Do you wanna be cremated? Do you wanna be buried? Like, you're trying to
Right.
honor her and actually do and you don't
Right.
want all that
Right.
responsibility. Yeah.
Yeah. At the same time, I did recognize that it was an opportunity to let her have a little bit more alleviation
Yeah.
while she was earthside.
Yeah. So you're
Where,
like, "If I can just take this from her for a
yeah,
moment, I can bear
hmm
the weight of that. Let her just,
exactly.
you
Yeah,
know."
like I can figure it out.
Yep.
I mean, I'm not guaranteed any time, but assumptively, I've got
Yeah.
time. So
Yep.
I was left with a lot of those responsibilities and things to take care of and decide and conversations to have with her family and us to collectively agree on what to do with things. And then it was also a circumstance where her and I had been cumulatively together for about 3 years. We're married for about 3 months. And so I I felt the weight of responsibility of these decisions, but I also felt a sense of guilt where it's like, yes, we've been our, the primary people for each other for a while, but also her family has of course been with her entire life. And so
Yeah.
I don't I don't want to feel this sense of entitlement or ownership over all
Yeah.
of this stuff either. Like I
Mhm.
will take it on, like the responsibility, I will do it. But, I don't want to be in a position where it's like, "Oh, sorry, you can't have that thing that you want," or
Yeah.
whatever it may be. So, I thankfully her family was super kind and understanding and we all were able to work together through a lot of those things and sort it out in a way that I think everyone was okay with. But
Yeah. I felt good
there's
about it.
just, yeah, there's a lot of dynamics and things that we had to sort through just in the
Navigate.
the
Yeah.
cleanup of it all. And so planning funeral and experiencing the grief, and the community around me was so generous and kind. Someone had set up a meal train, and so I had meals every single day, and I had people with me every moment that I wanted people with me.
Mhm.
And so my house was just a revolving door. And in that time, I felt a lot of peace just from sharing my story. I don't know how many times I told my story to my friends and people that came over, but that for me was healing to just
Cathartic.
say
Yeah.
it and relive it in my mind, as painful as it was at times. Being able to just tell it really helped me.
I think it helps
And
process too. That's
yeah,
it's been like that for me, definitely,
mm,
I just yeah, helping us, "Okay, say it. This happened factually. This happened," like, Yeah, like reliving it, yes, it can be painful, but I think it is actually very cathartic and processing for a lot of people. Yeah.
Yeah. And I also feel like and each time that I tell it, there is something new that resonates in a different way or brings something else up or something that is a little detail that I forgot and
Mhm.
reincorporate into my story. And all of that just, to me, it almost feels like this puzzle of healing where I'm just finding the pieces and building off of that. But yeah, I was seeing a lot of folks, and I was visiting Chance at the NICU every day that I could. And there were some days where he had to stay in intubation, so I couldn't see him. And in that time, man, I was so scared to go back to the hospital. That was the hospital that Camry literally just died in.
Yep.
And to go back in and of itself was
Mhm.
really hard. But Chance being there was the only thing that would have brought me
The
back.
only saving grace. Yeah, you're like, the
Yeah.
only thing that's gonna get me in this freaking hospital.
Yeah.
Is this little boy.
And I got to do skin to skin with him
Oh, so
when I
beautiful.
saw him, which I was not expecting. I would have figured like, oh, he's too young or whatever else, but the NICU nurses were like, no,
It's
you need to do
so
this.
important.
Yeah.
Yeah, we also had a NICU baby, and
Mm,
despite the tubes and the wires and all and that there, I mean, our daughter was like 5 pounds 4 ounces. Go be
mm,
a pound, right? You want to talk
yeah.
about fragile? Like my God, I can only begin to imagine.
Yeah.
But they're just literally the most fragile little things you've ever held. A glass vase is less fragile
Yes.
than these babies, and then with the tubes, it's
Yes.
just like it's so unfair to say that's, like, such an understatement that anything like this could ever happen to them, and it's like I remember feeling that way with my daughter the first time I was, like, very scared. I'd also, like, really never held, like, a baby that small, but then I'm just like, "I don't wanna drop her. I don't wanna break her," like, I don't wanna,
Yeah.
like, rip a wire out or something, like, it's just,
How long was she in the NICU?
19 days.
Okay.
19 days, yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
So I got just
It's,
a very, very, very little taste of what you went through, but yeah,
yeah,
it's horrific.
it is. There's just so much weight in being on that unit
Mhm.
because so many other families are experiencing the same thing.
Yes.
And you also have this sense of guilt, like, how can I do more? What more can I do here? And you
Yes.
feel so helpless.
So helpless. Yeah.
And yeah, I remember just thinking, well, number one, I'm going to do whatever I can. But also, it's like, I'm going to do everything in my power to show him nothing but love while
Mhm.
he's here. And at that point, overall, he was doing pretty well. Like the doctors and everyone that was looking at him, they were like, yeah, he's
Considering,
doing,
like
yeah, considering he's doing well. And I had that first skin to skin with him, and I can like, if I just put my hands right here, I can like
Yes.
feel him on my chest still.
Oh my god.
And it was like, and I've never, just to clarify, I've never been like a baby fever kind of guy. Like, I love kids, they're amazing, but I've never been the first one to like grab a baby and like,
My
it
husband's
just
the
was
same
not
way.
me.
Yeah, yeah.
And then when I held him for the first time, it was like every cliche of parenting and all the things you feel just hit me at once,
Yeah,
where it was like, I'm obsessed with this baby. I want to see every little wrinkle of this baby. Like,
yeah,
I want to see his heart beat up and down.
yeah.
I was like freaking out every time he like made a little noise, and like I got to change his little diaper that was like
Oh
this
my God, it must
big.
have been microscopic. Oh my
Yeah.
God. Oh,
And
so sweet.
he, what was just so amazing and awesome and beautiful was that he recognized my voice. And so when I would come in the room and just say, "Hi, Chance," or whatever, and stick my hand in, he would just immediately go up and like grab onto
Oh my
my
God,
pinky.
stop.
And it was just so amazing.
Magical.
And so I, with him every day, and at the same time, still figuring out funeral stuff. I'm trying to figure out
It's
what to
surreal.
do with this house because I'm still renovating the house and figuring out like,
Oh
oh
my
my
God.
God, I'm gonna have a baby here soon.
The logistics. God.
Yeah, in the midst
Yeah.
of a renovation. And my, again, community came around me so wonderfully. There were so many people who volunteered their time and did damn near extreme makeover type of stuff to my house.
That's amazing.
It was amazing. I am so, so grateful for the countless people who showed up.
That's so cool.
So, yeah, I'm figuring all that out. And then Saturday morning, I get a call from the hospital and they say, "Hey, Chance isn't doing well. You need to come here now. We think we're going to have to do a surgery." So I beeline it to the hospital. I am panicking. I'm pissed off. Just not at anyone in particular, but just anything that is causing friction for me seeing my son in that moment was making me angry.
Yep. Yep.
And so I run into the hospital and I get to the front desk and I'm like, I need to figure out where the NICU surgery floor is. And I'm acting with urgency,
Yeah.
similar to how I am now, but more intense. And then the front desk lady is just like, let me see. And she's like, slowly,
God.
like,
Kick rocks. I gotta
and
hate people sometimes.
I was just like, forget it. And I just ran off and like figured it out and found it. And then I get to the floor. One of the doctors immediately pulls me into a side room. And then she starts to outline what surgery they'll probably have to do because they had found air in his stomach. It was most likely
Okay.
SIDS from what they described, a colon perforation.
Oh,
And as we're in there describing it, a nurse comes into the room and says, he's coding.
oh,
So we run down the unit. Doctors are talking to me as I'm coming and are describing what's going on and that they're starting to give him CPR. And again, I'm just pissed. I'm like, get me to my son.
yeah.
And then they're gabbing in my ear and I just stopped and I'm like, let me see him. And they're like, okay. And so
Yeah.
they part the sea of medical
Yeah.
staff. I go
Move.
up to him.
Ah,
I start talking to him, tell him I love him, and he doesn't grab my finger this time. And and then I step back and they start doing CPR on him again and his heart rate is just continuing to decline. And at this point the doctors are like, you just tell us when to stop. We can keep trying, but once we start CPR to begin with on a preemie, it's usually not a favorable outcome. And it got to the point where it was his heart rate was in the teens. And for preemies, they're in like mid 100. And so I just saw him suffering. And I just told them to stop. And so they stop and they start taking his tubes off. They swaddle him in a blanket. And the first time I got to hold him without tubes was when he was dying. And I'm sobbing, and his eyes opened for the first time after he had died. And he, spitting image, had Camry's eyes.
Oh my
And
God.
I, at this point, I just felt so overwhelmed and angry and just sick of hospitals.
Yeah.
I was like, what do I need to do to get out of here?
Yep.
I had held him for quite some time, and I hit a certain point where it's like, this
You're
is not,
done. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Mhm.
And so we figured that out. I storm out of there, and thankfully, one of my friends knew what was going on, and he had been in the lobby at the hospital. So he was there for me. And then I was just in this weird autopilot where I was like, okay, that happened. I've got to keep
You're
rolling.
literal survival mode. I mean,
Yeah. Like the first thing
how
I
do you
do is I call the funeral director and I'm like, hey,
me
is there
again?
any way is there any way we can add to the funeral?
Stop.
And
Oh my God.
the funeral was the next day. And so he was accommodating, and we incorporated chants, and we called it a celebration of life because that's what we
Mhm.
really wanted it to be.
Yeah.
And so that day, I just in autopilot, first thing, I'm like, I'm just gonna go get a stupid coffee.
Mhm.
I I don't know why, but I'm like, I'm just gonna get a coffee.
Cling
And
on.
so I'm just standing in the coffee shop, and I'm just looking around at all these people living their lives, and I'm like, you don't know what's
What
going
you
on at
what you've just
all.
been through.
And
No.
I get home, my family meets me there, and we sit down and talk through a lot of it. And I'm still just angry. I'm just angry at this point. And
Mhm.
I, that day, just decided to go for a run. I'm not a runner really, but
Mhm.
there was this river that Camry and I would go to sometimes, and we would hang out there or we would swim in the river. And I just felt this pull from her,
Mm.
just being like, go.
Just get out, get outside.
And so I ran to the river and submerged myself, got up out, and then it started raining when I got out.
This is like
And
biblical.
yeah, and there was just this, I don't know, there was this weird feeling that I had running in the rain and seeing all these people hide and get out of the rain, and they're getting their umbrellas out, they're hiding under
Yeah.
canopies, and I'm just like, I don't care. Like lightning strike me down, I don't care. Like I'm just gonna keep going and see what happens.
Yeah.
And all the while, this is where Instagram, social media stuff started to happen.
Mhm.
And the first video I had posted was of a anniversary tradition that Camry and I had where we would share a piece of cake and then say something that we were grateful about the other person for.
That's cute.
And so that was the first video, and I shared that just primarily for family and friends.
Hmm.
And then, maybe a person here or there who might resonate with it.
Yeah.
But it took off in a way that I was not expecting or anticipating or wanting. It just happened. And
Took on a life of its own.
yeah, and I was in a place where sharing was bringing me a lot of peace, just to get it out there, and for me to express myself for my own sake.
Yeah.
And then I feel like a side effect of it was, if it helped other people or resonated with other people, great. But
Hmm.
inevitably, it's like, if this is helping me right now, I'm going to do it. I don't care if people judge it. I would have
Yeah.
judged it myself. As if you take me back a year before, I would have been like,
Right.
okay, who's this guy? This cloud
Yeah.
chaser. He's so weird for wanting to share this. And so I I've definitely felt some duality of, okay, I find myself in this place of wanting to share. It's helping me, but I also am not doing this for anything other than myself.
Yeah.
And so, needless to say, I just continued to share when it felt helpful for me, and that resonated with a lot of people. And I was able to make, and still am making, a lot of amazing connections with people, and people sharing their stories with me, and people getting colonoscopies. And it's
Yeah.
just, it's so amazing to see what vulnerability can do.
Yeah.
I think we're conditioned to judge vulnerability at times. And with that, there's just that risk of, I can I can help people, and I can share, and I can bring more love into the world, but that also brings about criticism and
Mm.
hate and judgment.
Which is
And
insane to me, but
oh yeah, I got plenty. And
that makes no sense to me.
it yeah, I in navigating a lot of that, I came to a place of just realizing, okay, people have their own stuff and are going to have their own opinions, and people can have substantially, or I should say, substantiated opinions in ways that don't feel just inherently hateful. Some people have critical criticisms. I get that. And I'm learning throughout this experience that there's so much power that we give to other people.
Hmm.
And
Especially with social media nowadays.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And there was a certain liberation that I felt when I was just sharing what I wanted and how I wanted,
Yeah.
and realizing, oh, their opinions actually don't matter as much as I was giving them credit for. And another thing that I was just carrying throughout a lot of that was, by me shrinking because of somebody else's opinion, is
Hmm.
just letting some form of hate win. And the whole reason that I'm sharing any of this is to let love win, to
Yes.
show the love that we can carry within ourselves, the
Yeah.
love that can be shown to our lost ones, the current people that are with us. That's that's just what I want to carry within myself and everything that I do.
Hmm.
And so there were times where it almost felt like this battle against evil.
Yeah.
and and in all sorts of different forms. Like, there's the individual people who have something mean to say, which is, that's its own thing. But then there's also the systemic things of
Yeah.
what what larger corporations have incentives towards us consuming foods that will inevitably harm our bodies, because
Yeah.
colon cancer is the number one cancer killing people under 50 now.
I'm so glad you said that. I saw you posted something, or I think
Yeah.
multiple things about this, or there was somebody
Yeah.
recently that I think you even partnered with. Anyway, calling attention to it. I've been hearing
Yeah.
stats like that, and
Yeah.
I'm not gonna say it's like scary. I don't live in fear over it, but
Hmm.
crazy enough, I actually have, my dad had two genetic mutations. I
Okay.
inherited one of them. I know that
Mm.
because I did some blood work. I can't get prostate cancer, which is what my dad died from, but they were like, your chances of getting colon cancer could be higher. So start getting colonoscopies now. And I just did my first one last year and I was dreading it, but it
Great.
was actually,
Yeah.
it was like the classic, like the prep was worse than the actual procedure and all the thing. And
Yep.
I'm so glad I did it. I'm so
Yeah.
freaking glad.
Yeah.
But I know that not everybody, a colonoscopies typically are don't start until you're 45 or, whatever. They should, and I don't feel like you should have a genetic mutation or something else to allow let you get a
Yeah.
colonoscopy when you
Right.
want to. I don't yeah, the math doesn't math on that for me, but anyway, yeah,
Yeah.
just being on
Yeah.
top of it.
Yeah. And I admittedly, I won't claim to be any sort of expert on the topic, and anything that I do say will be theoretical or just hypotheses or ideas that I
Yeah.
have. But in my mind, part of it does come from awareness.
Mhm.
And I think part of it does come from a diet perspective as well.
Mhm.
And there's so many aspects to that that it's, I could go down so many rabbit holes, but I think the main message there is that we need more fiber in our American diet.
Yeah.
But outside of that, I just in thinking about colonoscopies and screenings and having more access to that, I think one of the biggest hurdles to it is that it's such an internal cancer. Like
Yes.
with
Yeah.
breast cancer, for example, it's like you
You
can
can
feel
feel.
a
Yeah.
mass, and it's as simple as feeling that and then getting screened.
Yep.
With colon cancer, like you have to be looking at every poop that you pass and how much blood you're having, and like
Right.
everyone has some sort of stomach issues every once in a while, but it's like
Sometimes things are just off because 'cause they're off, or you ate
right,
something funny or whatever. So, like, how do you know, right? Rhetorically,
right,
how do you know? Like,
right, exactly. It's so
ah,
ambiguous,
yeah,
and
yeah,
it's yeah, at this point it just seems like one of those things that we can be more proactive about, because there's there's some people who have the idea that, okay, maybe we just get more CT and PET scans preemptively to see what's going on, but
mhm,
there's still harm that comes to you from that radiation that you experience.
yeah,
So it's like
yeah,
that's kind of one, I won't say extreme, but it's a more intense screening
consideration,
process.
yeah,
And so with something like a colonoscopy, yes, it's invasive, but also it's a very surefire way in
it's
many
quick,
circumstances.
you're
Yeah.
asleep, no harm, no
Yeah.
foul, like, you wake up a little drowsy, and it could be worse, like, for anyone here
Right.
listening who's dreading a colonoscopy, okay,
Yeah.
like, not that bad.
Yeah. And hopefully, I
Yeah.
mean, hopefully there's also innovations where
Yes, God
maybe there
willing.
can, yeah, maybe there can be ways to get some form of a colonoscopy without any sort of actual internal assessment that's needed. Maybe there's an external way that we can screen colonoscopies in the future. Who
Right.
knows? But
Yeah. Like, you hear
I
about, like,
hope,
Cologuard and things like that, but I've also heard the accuracy on that isn't and this is all hearsay, I don't know for sure,
yeah.
but, like, for my like, the doctors I've spoken to, they're like, "That's appropriate for a certain age level and risk factor or whatever that you're just
Hmm.
not. Sorry, you have to get the
Yeah.
actual colonoscopy." I'm like, "Alright, cool." So, like, what's the point of having that then? Like, I don't know, but
Yeah. Yeah.
either way. Yeah.
Yeah. It is. It's like many things. It's just it's so ambiguous. It's so hard to know the answers, and it's so hard to actually make change that we want
Yeah.
to see. And so I think it all starts with advocacy and
Mhm.
awareness. And so, as unfortunate as it is, there is more awareness now.
Yeah.
And so that's my silver lining with it. But all that to say, yeah, there there's so many things that I could go down with the colonoscopy, and I know we're already at a typical
No,
longer time,
you're
which is totally cool with
so
me.
fine.
But I guess I'm curious from your perspective. I don't know exactly when your family members had passed, but
Mhm.
when you look back at, say, your first year of the grief that you were experiencing, because I'm not even a year through it.
Yeah.
July is going to be a year. What what sort of things do you look back on now
Mhm.
and realize about yourself and how you were coping? Do you feel like you were just a different person? Do you feel like you were the same person, just experiencing a lot of stuff? How do you look back at that time?
Yeah. Okay, first of all, who's the podcast host here? I look at you with like this great question. I'm like, excuse me, who's being interviewed here? No, but genuinely, that's such a great question, and thank you for asking it because there could be someone here listening who's, and it's funny. I actually wanted to ask you a similar question in terms of how this first less than a year has been for you, and just
Yeah.
what coping has looked like. It sounds like your community and just speaking openly, advocacy, all of these things have been very therapeutic for you. To answer your very good question, gosh, that first year, I guess I was in a little bit of survival, but I will be so honest with you because I don't live near family where I am in California. All my family's on the East Coast on both sides. And I had been through a breakup in between my parents dying as well. We like kind of my now husband, we like just got back together like right after my dad died more or less. It's a long story. I spent a lot of time by myself. And I'm an only child, so that's not foreign to me. That felt okay to me. So it's actually so interesting that you're mentioning, like you have this incredible community and like people really rallied behind you. And not that people didn't for me. I don't want to like say that. Um, they set up meal trains, the things, but because I don't have siblings, because I just didn't have those people here, I navigated much of it, what felt like on my own. Like physically, but like emotionally too. My parents' estate. So they died December 2019 and January 2020, so like 6 months apart. Or sorry, July 2020. And so, during COVID and that was a whole thing too. And so I think that first year was just like a total recalibration of my life and life as I knew it. Life without my North Stars, my best friends, the people that I would have gone to support me in a tragedy like that. And those people were now gone. And so, and I can imagine that you might have felt this too, even despite all these people around you. Losing people that close to you like this, it is a isolation and a loneliness and an emptiness that is impossible to describe. Like, you can be like, "Oh, yeah, I feel really empty inside." No, no, no. Like, it's beyond, like, anything I've ever experienced in my life. I remember the morning that my dad died, and then, like, both parents were really gone, and I was like, "Whoa, this is properly scary." But I also, like you, had these weird moments of, like, acceptance and peace in a way. I almost hate the word acceptance, but I'm just gonna use it. But resignation, if you will, that, like, this was my life, that this was, like, the circumstances. And so I think from there, it was like that first year was very much there was some distracting in there, not gonna lie. There were, work, went back to work, like, probably not I probably should have taken more time out, but I think it was actually good for me at the time. I had my dog still at the time. We lost her less than a year later. That was also devastating. Pet loss, not to be underestimated. It's very sad losing pet. But yeah, it was distracting. But I journaled a lot. I walked a lot. Like I just rediscovered myself, I guess, in a way. And I got curious about, I didn't like have these words for it. I speak like this now, but it's like that version of me post loss. Like I spent time getting to know her and figuring her out. And I'm still in that process of figuring out who that girl is, and because we're all always evolving. Like, yes, it takes sometimes a big loss to like really send us on a path of evolution that we never asked to be on ever, but we're here. So like, and that's why I find you so inspiring, because it's like you could just as easily become a victim of what you have endured and stay stuck in that. And not that you maybe don't have moments of anger or whatever, even I do so, occasionally, but like, and that's very natural and that's just going to happen. But like, stay stuck in that anger, stay stuck in that resentment, stay stuck in the why me, why them, like all of the, the victim mentality, I guess, if you will. And it's very, again, I want to normalize. It's very normal to have those moments. That's okay. But I think I realized, probably not in the first year, but later on, that we do have a choice. We have a choice, not so much what we're feeling when we're grieving, like if anger comes up, if jealousy comes up, if whatever, like the emotions, like, yeah, we can't always control those, but we do make choices to get out of bed every day, to eat something, to drink water, to spend time with a friend, to go get a coffee, right? And I see that a lot on social media now, like the same day, different choices type of comparison. And it's powerful because it's true. We can spend an hour scrolling on our phone, or we could go out on a walk and listen to a podcast and learn something. I don't know, grief or not, life is full of those decisions. So I didn't think I realized it at the time in that first year, but a lot of the decisions I made, the books I chose to read, the podcasts I listened to, all the things were like I give myself a pat on the back for that, because I was like, "Wow, you did okay. Like, you did better than you think you did." Like, give yourself some credit, right? And so however that looks for any of us, we all need to give ourselves some credit, because we are all surviving something devastating. But I see grievers handle the first year in so many different ways. With the clients I work with, like working with someone now, I completely numbed out the first year. Second year, I still didn't quite know where I was at. And third year, they're now starting to feel their feels, and they feel like, they're experiencing this like delayed grief. And I'm like, okay, fine. This is where you are right now. Let's start there. Right. So it's all over the spectrum, but almost trying to remember even that was a very long answer to your question, but yeah, that's kind of what I guess year one looked like for me a little bit. But then again, lost my dog and that's when I was like, okay, I thought it was rock bottom, but now this is really rock bottom, because like that dog was like the sister I never had, So there's like, and I can again begin to imagine in your shoes, you lose Camry, you lose Chase, you're like, what else do I have to lose here? Are you kidding me? Whatever God, universe, source you believe that, you're like, I talk to grievers
Yeah.
all the time. It's like, what? What
Hmm.
did I do to deserve this? What, like,
Yeah.
this is
And it's
actually a joke.
interesting. It's interesting you say that, because this whole this whole process and what I've experienced, there's a couple things you said. One is, I don't want or need sympathy from
Mm.
anybody.
Mhm.
It doesn't serve me to have people feel bad for me.
Yeah,
It
I feel the same
it
way.
only yeah, it only
It's like, it's
the only
nice. I'll take.
reason, sure, yeah, but the only reason I actually share is to help myself and help others.
Yeah.
It's not in any way me wanting to throw my sob story out there or anything. And that some people might need that level of comfort,
Mhm.
but for me personally, it it hasn't really benefited me to receive that sympathy. I appreciate it in small doses here and there, but it's
Yeah.
never been something I've sought after. And then what you were saying about the deserving or fairness of things, I I've adopted a very neutral standpoint on it
Mhm.
all. I think part of it is just accepting what I like to call the chaos of the universe,
Yes.
where it's like I could do everything right, I could do everything wrong, I could be a good person, I could be a bad person. There are just things that are going to happen in life that happen.
Yep.
And my wife died of cancer and my son died from being premature.
Mhm.
Those are facts.
Yep.
And I I don't feel like I did or did not deserve that. It's
Mhm.
terrible, it's tragic, but there's nothing good enough that I did to not deserve it, and there's nothing bad enough that I did to deserve it. I
Yeah. Well said.
I just think that it happened.
Yep.
And
There's no why. There's no
mhm,
yeah.
that's something a lot of people have asked me, and
Mhm.
trying to understand, like, why did this happen? What is the reason for this? And it just happened.
Yeah.
It happened. There's not necessarily a reason, and I don't necessarily want to jump to a silver lining reason
Yeah.
because that in some ways negates what happened in and of itself.
Yep.
And so yeah, I've to the best of my ability just tried to stay neutral about a lot of it because I yeah, I don't think that there's a bigger why in some of these circumstances. Maybe there is. Maybe one day I'll retroactively see it, but it's not something that I'm seeking or trying to figure out. Like we
Yeah.
are the only guarantee really in life is that we will die.
Mhm.
So why be mad at about something that's inevitable?
Yeah. Yeah. And yeah, one could argue it's like, "Oh, but it was before their time, it was whatever." I mean, yeah. And
Yeah.
there's such a and this freeing feeling I think that I got to when I realized, like, it's not about me. It's not about why me. It's not about why them. It's like I kinda just got to this point where, like, I'm gonna take the ego out of it. Factually, it happened. It just did. And also, what is the wallowing in, like, what they could have done differently? Yes, I would have loved if my mom had gone to the doctor sooner, like, a lot of, the what you were mentioning about Camry, I was like, "God, this sounds a lot like my mother." She also was not super into Western medicine, she was a more holistic girly, she liked that
Yeah.
kind of and I respect the hell out of that, and I
Same.
like to think I'm somewhere in the middle. I don't even really know at this
Agreed.
point. But because my dad's was found earlier, and he lived 5 or 6 years with prostate cancer, but
Wow.
went through a lot of treatment. He also was a lawyer, by the way, so what a that I
Wow, all
just
the
so many
parallels.
I know, I was scary.
Maybe
But
people should stop being lawyers. Maybe that's the cure.
right? It'll kill you one way or another. If
Yeah.
not that, it's stress.
Yeah.
Um, God, so funny. But no, it's true. So I just yeah, I felt an exhale, a lot of release when I just kind of let that go. Let the need to understand. And there's like such philosophical things I could get into, like, how much is free will versus how much is like actually pre-planned and what we're actually destined for, if we are destined to live a long life or not, or whatever. I'm still like, I think, even figuring out how I feel about things like that. But all I knew and what has given me peace is exactly what you just said, and there is like a neutrality of it because we could spend so much time racking our brains about why something did or didn't happen. I mean, it's so cliche, but it's not going to bring them back. And it's, like sometimes thinking about those things does help us process it a little bit. Like I'm not saying we can't think those things or go through those. I think that is actually important to kind of like work through with ourselves and rationalize and whatever. But that's where I see a lot of grievers, I think, get stuck. They're with the ruminating thoughts and things, and that's what I've learned is there's a point where I'm like, you gotta you gotta just, you don't have to like let them go, but let that piece of it just float away a little bit.
Yeah.
It's gonna be okay. You don't need to know because that's life. There's gonna be lots of unanswered questions, and I think as humans, we don't like that. We don't like the unknown. We don't like the open-endedness. It's uncomfortable. I get that so much. I do, but at what cost, are we like not living, trying to figure out the why? So I just to kind of bring it full circle and bring it back to how you two handled her diagnosis and everything after that. And just, I want the theme of this conversation today to be to invite that love in. And I was thinking of my parents as you were saying that, and my mom especially, because she's so into that. Bring in the love, forget the fear. There's wherever you choose to believe we go when you die anyway, there's no fear, there's no anger, there's nothing. I feel like it's just love and light and elation, you know? So the more that we can bring that earth side, I think is a really, really beautiful and magical thing, which is again why I wanted to have you on, because the content you're putting out, the work you're putting out, the advocacy, the awareness, all of it, it is with a backbone of light and love. And that is needed in this world now more than it's always needed, but my God, right now, especially so.
Yeah. And I think that so just for a little context, I grew up in a Christian environment. I would say I'm now agnostic, but
Mhm.
there is the Lord's Prayer. And
Yeah.
in that prayer, part of the prayer is that we live on earth as it is in heaven.
Yes.
And and that sentiment, regardless of what you believe, I think is what we all ought to embody. And
Yeah. I love that.
what heaven represents, it
Yeah.
represents a lot of what you're talking about: serenity, peace, love,
Yeah.
tranquility, and a, a compassion and community. There's so many routes that you could go, but
Yeah.
inevitably it boils down to love. And
Yes.
so why do we ought to just try and live with more love here right
Yeah.
now?
Yes.
And it everything that this experience has taught me is the urgency to love.
Mhm.
Like there needs to be an urgency about it,
Yes.
because you you can get so bogged down in the day to day. You
Mhm.
can think of life as this super long thing, and even if you do live to 80 or 90, relatively it's not that
Yeah.
long. And
Yeah.
there's this quote from someone who died in their 80s or 90s. I don't remember how old they were, but they were asked about, reflecting on their life, and they just said, "Man, that went fast." And
That's
yeah, that has stuck with me, and I I just choose to remember that life is fast.
Mhm.
Like life is fast right now. Life is going to
Yeah.
continue to be fast. And so we can slow down how we can, but regardless, I just want to be as present and loving as I can be wherever I can be in whatever circumstance. And that to me honors them more than anything else.
Yeah. I love that. Beautifully said. It's
Thanks.
again, that's the choice that we get to make because we're here and we're still alive and we're still doing the damn thing. And yeah, it's fucking hard sometimes, but what a blessing, you know? So yeah, I just so well said. Colin, this was an incredible conversation. I could talk to you for hours
I
longer.
know. I was like, does it have to end?
I know. I was like, there's,
Yeah.
I mean, God, I know we only scratched the surface
Yeah.
with everything you've been through and all of the nuances that you
Mm.
had to endure in that time. But I want to say just thank you for sharing Camry and Chance with us. And God, and I would just say your experience, but that doesn't even really seem to like be the right word. Journey, I don't know. But I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful you came on and shared. And again, grateful for I hate to say your content because I don't want it to seem like it's just content, but like your vulnerability, the message that you share and all the ways that you share it. So that all being said, where can people find you? Where can they follow you? All the things.
Yeah. I it's funny because and if people scour my Instagram enough, they'll see that I was chronically offline. Like I really was not doing anything on
Yeah.
social media altogether. So that being said, you can just find me on Instagram at Collin Farias, COLLINFARIAS. I'm not really anywhere else. So if you find
Yeah.
somebody else, report them.
They're fraud.
Yeah.
Add it to the list of shit that's happened to you. No, I'm just kidding. But no, but seriously, just thank you again so much. I'm so glad I found you. I'm so glad we had this
Yeah.
conversation. I just feel there was some moments there that really got me, but I feel so uplifted and inspired and like I'm just going to remember this conversation like literally forever, truly. Like
Yeah.
and just again some of the lessons that you've learned, some of the quotes and things that you shared either from your own or someone else like I'm gonna have to like take an hour to like process this conversation. but,
Yeah.
but
Thank
thank
you
you.
for having me on. This has
I
been
appreciate
amazing.
it.